Hi guys, in this video we're going to create a bit of a winter snow scene on a fruitcake. So I've just covered my cake in marzipan. Just put a big piece over the top. We've stuck it down with some apricot jam between our fruitcake and marzipan. And I'm just rubbing it down the sides. Now I've put it on in one piece just because I was in a little bit more of a rush than usual. But I do sometimes put the top piece and side pieces on separate so I get a slightly sharper edge around the top. And just trim off the edges. Next I've rolled out a piece of white fondant. Now I have rolled it out quite thick, but really you want to go a little bit thinner than this. And we're just unravelling it around our layer of marzipan. So around the edge of the cake. And I've just used a bit of water between the marzipan and this to stick it. And we're just trimming a little bit off at the back so we get a little seam there. Just blend it out the best you can with your finger. Don't worry if not, because we're going to cover it up with a tree. And trim off all the bottom. And also trim the top, keeping your knife nice and level so you get a straight edge. We've got another long strip now of fondant that we're just going to do the board with. Now you can ice the board in advance if you prefer, you don't have to do it afterwards. And where it overlaps at the back we're going to cut through, remove this piece and this underneath piece. Just trim all the bits that hang over the edge off the board. So now we're rolling out another piece of fondant and we're just going to use some black food colouring, a little bit of white food colouring. Let's mix them together so we get a nice light grey. Because we want a bit of a silver birch effect on this piece of fondant. So I'm keeping it nice and pale. Some darker lines, some lighter lines. And from this piece we're going to cut out strips. These are going to be our silver birch trees. They're going to go around the edge of our cake. So don't worry if they're all slightly different thicknesses, that's absolutely fine. And then we're just going to trim, you see, a little bit off at an angle so that we get a little branch that sticks out to the side. You can do one at the other side as well if you like. Just remove that bit above it so the tree doesn't get fatter as it goes up. And I've got my trees upside down at the moment. So I'm putting a little strip of water on my cake where I want it to go. And just put the tree on so that the bottom's level with your cake board or sits against the cake board. And we're just going to trim it so it's level at the top. And you're going to do that all the way around. So can you see we've spaced some slightly closer together, some slightly further apart. And I haven't added branches to all of them, you don't have to. I've rolled out more white icing. I'm just using my little smoother as a guide for the size because I know my smoother is about the size of the top of my cake, so I'm just laying my smoother on there. And what we're going to do is just cut a wavy line in a very, very rough circle shape. If you get any rough edges, just give them a light little press down and smooth with your fingertips and place that on the top of your cake. So obviously the bigger this piece, the further down your cake it's going to come. The smaller it is, the shorter it's going to be on the sides. You can stick it with a bit of water again. It's going to look a little bit like that from the side. Just going to add some little snowballs now for a bit of extra detailing. So they're quick and simple to make. Just little balls of white icing. Just rolled up and put on wherever you fancy one. Then let's create our little foxes. So I've got my icing. And you can use a modelling paste if you want it a little bit firmer. Or you can just use fondant for this. But you might find you have to add a little bit of Tylose to it if you're using fondant. So we've got a very rough teardrop shape. And then a slightly smaller one that we're pushing just next to it. So we're going to do like a mummy and baby. Let's put a piece for the baby's tail. So like a long teardrop again, but we'll put a bit of a point on either end. Same for the bigger fox. And then for the head, we're going to start with a ball and we're going to squish it so it's a little bit flatter. And can you see we've straightened two edges at the bottom. So it kind of comes down in a bit of a point, but it's sort of like a semicircle shape at the top. I'm going to stick that on with a little bit of water. Just indenting where the eyes are going to go with my fingers. And just repeat exactly the same for the bigger one. So go a little bit bigger on the bigger fox. And then I've just got the end of my modelling tool. And we're just going to press in so they've got little eyes. So closed eyes for this one. They're going to look like they're asleep. And let's give them some ears. So a rough diamond shape. Let's cut that in half so we get two triangles. If they're not perfect triangles, it doesn't matter. And then something rounded to push in the middle so it just gives them a bit more shape. And then we're just going to push those on the head. If they don't stick, put a little bit of water between them, like that. And we'll try and squeeze some smaller ones on the other one. And then we're going to give them both a little oval nose. Now if you want, you can do this in black. I was just being a little bit lazy and using the white, and I thought I'd just paint it black. But if you've got some black to hand, you can use black fondant or black modelling paste. If not, do it in white and we can paint it in black food colouring afterwards. Let's put a little bit of black just on the edges of those ears. And we'll just repeat the same on the little one. And I'm going to add a little bit of black into those eyes, or the lines that we've made for the eyes. So try and use quite a small paintbrush, otherwise you will end up with it everywhere. There we go. So there's our foxes, and we're just going to stick those onto the top of our cake. Just a little bit of water should be fine. Ooh, and just make sure there's not too much black food colouring in your water still like I've got. And just push that in place. If you want any extra little decorations, you might want to put little snowflakes on. I'm going to cheat and use a cutter so that I don't have to shape them all by hand. I'm going to press the plunger down so I get a bit more of an imprint on this one. Let's pop that out. Now, if you have time, give them maybe half an hour to start firming up so that they don't flop around too much. So I've stuck mine straight on so they're quite bendy. And then just place those wherever you want. I'm not going to need many on there. There we go. There it is, all finished. And you can change the animal on the top for whichever animal you fancy. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do check out my other Christmas tutorials. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram and more.